There were a bunch of guys in Sweden. One was an American Vietnam draft dodger, 2 Swedes, and an English biochemist researcher. They formed a band in Sweden, decided to come over to England to seek their fortune. They met up with a drummer in Guildford who had an off licence and invited them down to stay with him at the off licence. His name became known as Jet Black. And they were there roughing it, and they didn't realise how hard it was to seek their fortunes in England. One night I was coming back in my van from karate training, stopped to give a hitchhiker a lift. It happened to be the American draft dodger. I dropped him off at the off licence. He asked me up for share a drink. I met the rest of the band. 2 weeks later, I must have given my bedsit address to someone, because 2 weeks later I was playing guitar on my own of an evening, and Hugh Cornwell turned up at the front door saying the band had left him, and he was there. They'd gone back to Sweden, and he was left there with the drummer, and he saw that I was playing guitar, and we chatted, and he said, why don't we form a band? I've got a spare bass guitar. The Swedish bass player just left it and dumped it and went back to Sweden. So we agreed to see what would happen when we played together.
Because originally, you mentioned Guildford, the band was called the Guildford Stranglers, wasn't it?
Well, amongst many other names, because we would, in those days, you'd phone up pubs, because that was the only circuit available, really, for up-and-coming bands. You'd phone pubs up and tried to get booked. And what would happen, inevitably in our case anyway, was we'd go out under a certain name, and there'd be a bit of a problem with the landlord or the audience. So we'd try to book ourselves in under another name a few weeks later. And, sometimes the guy would recognise us and say, "Oi!" And so we had quite a few names, to be honest. Oil and the Slicks, Guildford Stranglers was one, the Shakespeareos, loads of different names.
And obviously you're well known for the distinctive sort of bass sound that you bring to the band, but you actually, correct me if I'm wrong, originally trained in classical guitar, didn't you?
Yeah, I was from the age of 11. I was doing classical guitar till about the age of 17.
So why did you turn to the bass?
Well, because it was available. There was the Swedish guy, there was a bass guitar available. So Hugh said, here, try this. I said, it's got 2 strings missing.
I know you've been described, or in the early days at least, we were described as a punk band, but you weren't necessarily a punk band. In many ways, you drove that sort of new wave forward into a different direction, didn't you?
Originally, as far as I understand, the term punk was quite a broad church, and I kind of embraced the concept because there was a whole new thing happening. There was definitely some kind of synchronicity around end of 75, 76. I think basically we thought there was some kind of a new revolution going on, but it was really it comprised of a lot of diverse bands, and they weren't all what you'd think, the very fast, frenetic punk thing that became identifiable with the term. But originally there were loads of different sounding bands, and that suited me fine, because dipped in, our inspiration was pretty diverse, and then, you combine the influences or the members of the band, and you come out with material which is, a synthesis of all that. But it became a bit of a narrow definition of punk, got sort of taken over by the fundamentalists, I think. So at one point we considered ourselves to be a punk band, and then we were considered not to be by the powers that be, which really didn't bother me at all, because it kind of is a bit of a straitjacket if you follow any kind of orthodoxy, and we just wanted to see experiment, I suppose, see what you could write about and how you could write it, and it's a bit suffocating if you're in that straitjacket, creatively.
Absolutely. That's the problem with the music industry. Even today, I think it just likes to pigeonhole bands and artists, doesn't it, too much, perhaps?
Well, it's pigeonholing is easy for journalists and for marketing. purposes, I think. But I think most creative people don't want to be pigeonholed. You know, they want to have the freedom to. Well, certainly in our case, we wanted to have the freedom to see how far our limited talents would take us. You know, if you're a fan of music, you're not necessarily just down to one genre of music. You might have a preference, but I think you like all kinds of stuff which turns you on, and that eventually finds its way into the influences that help you write.
Of course, you have a French heritage. In fact, there are lots of stories, urban myths, some of them that go with the Stranglers' history. I was told that you were actually called up to do national service.
Well, I was court-martialed because I didn't turn up. I was court-martialed, but fortunately I benefited from some kind of treaty which allowed born outside of France to avoid national service, and I was born outside of France, so that took about 2 years to sort out. Meanwhile, I was visiting my parents in France, who'd retired to France, so I was having to find my way through little frontier posts on the German border or in Switzerland to get into France. It was quite fun.
It would have affected the Stranglers if you'd been called up to. It was 2 years of national service, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, especially in 1977, that's when I got the call-up papers.
Wow.
Which was a big year for us.
And also, I've got to ask you, because I understand you own a number of Triumph motorcycles.
Ah, you're talking about Hinckley?
I am.
Yes, sir. I'm not the only one in the band. Three of us who ride Triumphs. Yeah. I've been riding motorcycles since I was 16. So it was the last of the British marques to exist before it went down the pan in the early 80s, I think, or late 70s. And then, of course, it's risen phoenix-like from the ashes and become one of the most successful motorcycle marques in the world. And they've learned a lot of lessons from the past, in as much as I think the present Triumph, Hinckley Triumph company, has one of the biggest R&D departments in the world, which means that, you know, they don't sit on their laurels, and they're developing new and very reliable machines now, and very sexy looking machines.
Go on. How many have you got?
Yeah. Well, at the moment, I've only got two.
Okay.
I did have four, but you can't ride four at the same time, I've noticed. I've realised.
Try. We're going to finish with perhaps your best-known single, Golden Brown, which sounds very different to a lot of the other stuff that you've done. Tell us about this song and how it was composed and came together in the studio.
It was originally Hugh and I, who wrote most of the stuff. We decided to let Dave and Jet try something out. So we said, look, we're going down the pub for a couple of hours. We'll come back and see what you've got. So we came back, and there was this really ultra complicated thing, and we stripped that down, and it ended up with the basis for Golden Brown. It's really difficult. It's very funny when you see people trying to dance to it, because they dance to it and then suddenly they have to jerk out of their rhythm because there's a 5/4 thing.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that archive interview with Jean-Jacques Burnel from the Stranglers. If you did, please click on the like button, ring that notification bell, and make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of the other fabulous interviews with celebrities and famous names on this channel.